Lagos never slept. From the top floor of a glass tower in Victoria Island, Lemuel stood watching the city breathe, headlights weaving through traffic, music rising from distant rooftops, ambition pulsing through every street. At 32, it was the face of a billion-naira tech company, a man people quoted, admired, and envied. "Sir, the investors are waiting," his assistant said gently. Lemuel nodded, straightened his tie, and turned away from the window. Decisions, deals, deadlines. His life moved fast, and worlds rewarded him for it. But so did something else. But beneath the polished surface, something felt unsettled. The applause was loud, the numbers impressive, the influence undeniable, yet in the quiet moment, a question lingered. Not about profit or expansion, but about purpose. As Lemuel stepped into the boardroom, eyes turned toward him with expectation. Screen lit up, voices paused, and the room waited for direction. He spoke with clarity, confidence, and control, the kind that built empires. But deep within, there was a still small voice asking a different question. What shall it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul? For the first time in a long while, the weight of that question followed him louder than the applause. That night, the rooftop lounge shimmered with soft light and expensive laughter. Glasses clicked, music paused, familiar faces, models, influencers, powerful men gathered around him. Lemuel relaxed. One of his partners laughed, pushing a drink into his hand. "You have earned it." He hesitated just for a second, then took it. Across the room, a woman smiled at him. Beautiful, confident, effortless. He smiled back. It was easier not to think, easier not to remember the voice that sometimes echoed in his mind. "Don't give your strength to what will destroy you." He drank. The next morning came with a dull headache and a delayed meeting. "Sir, the contract you approved last night," his legal advisor began carefully. "There are issues." Lemuel frowned. What kind of issues? It bypasses certain protections. The smaller partner company could be unfairly treated. Lemuel rubbed his temples. "Fix it. He already signed. It's already signed." Silence. No, the hair. For the first time in a long while, something uneasy stirred within him. Weeks passed, the city still celebrated him, but cracks began to form. He once carried himself with a clean, deliberate sharpness, fresh haircuts, well-kept edges, and a presence that suggests order even before he spoke. Everything about him felt intentional, like a man who had things under control and knew exactly where he was going. But this time, pressure and sin burdens began to write a different story on him. The tidy lines on his appearance slowly softened, not from the careless sense, but from exhaustion that leaves room for self-maintenance. His hair, once regularly trimmed, began to grow unevenly, thickening, tangling slightly at the edges, forming early stages of locks, not planned, but formed through weeks of distraction and emotional weight. Work demand piled on him. Deadlines blurred into late nights into early mornings. The mind that once focused on appearance began to prioritize survival, tasks, responsibilities, and expectations. Emotionally, he carried more than he spoke about. Psychologically, the strain settled quietly, showing itself not in words, but in small changes only close observers would notice. Slower movements, tired eyes, a distant look even when he was present. Yet, in this shift, there is something deeply human in him. The The change in appearance is not a loss of value, but a reflection of a season, one where the inner world has been stretched, tested, and burdened. Beneath it all is still the same man, only walking through a chapter where care for self has been overtaken by the weight of everything else he's trying to hold together. A young employee in Ada stood nervously in front of his desk one afternoon. "Sir, the clinic, my father's clinic, it is part of the contract your company acquired. We were promised support, but now we are being shut down." Lemuel barely looked up. "Talk to the management." "Sir, management says the directive came from the top." Her voice trembled, but she held her ground. "People will suffer." He paused just for a moment. Then his phone buzzed. Another deal, another opportunity. "Leave it with me," he said, dismissively. She left, but her words stayed longer than he expected. That night, he went out again. Louder music, stronger drinks, brighter lights, but something has changed. The laughter sounded hollow. The smiles felt rehearsed. Even the woman beside him, whispering in his ear, felt like a distraction he could no longer fully enjoy. He stepped away from the crowd, pulling out his phone. A message sat unread from his mother. He hesitated, then opened it. "My son, power is a gift. It can also be a test. Be careful what you give your strength to. Not everything that feels good is good for you. Not everything that knocks you is meant for you." He exhaled slowly. For the first time in a long while, the city noise could not drown the truth. Days later, Lemuel walked through a part of the city he rarely visited. The clinic. Small, underfunded, quiet. Ada stood outside, surprised to see him. "Sir." He stood around. The worn chairs, the tired faces, the quiet dignity of people who had no voice in boardrooms. "This is what my decisions did?" he asked. She nodded. In that moment, the weight of his choices became real. Not numbers, not contracts, people. Back in his office, Lemuel sat alone. No music, no crowd, no distraction, just silence. He looked at the document on his desk, then at the city beyond his window. He thought about the nights he could not fully remember, the decisions made too quickly, the strength he had given away to pleasure, pressure, and to escape. He picked up his phone. "Cancel the lounge reservation," he said, and he called a meeting. "We are reviewing every contract tied to that acquisition." "Yes, sir." And he paused. No more late night approvals. Nothing gets signed without full clarity. He hung up. For once, his mind felt clear. Let us reflect on this. Power does not fall in a single moment. It slips away quietly in choices that seem small at the time. A drink too many, a distraction too often, a decision made without clarity. And before long, strength is no longer strength. It becomes weakness in disguise. Lemuel learned that leadership is not just about rising, it is about restraint. Not just about influence, but about responsibility. It is not just about success, but about justice. Because when a person forgets their purpose, others pay the price. And in a world full of noise, escape, true wisdom is this: to stay clear when others are clouded, to stand firm when others give in, and to remember always that what you do with your strength will either build lives or quietly destroy them. In a moment of overwhelming pressure and internal conflict, the true test is to find clarity and choose the path that builds rather than destroys. God bless you for watching.